other parts of the world, I think we have China, we have Brazil, there is India, there is Bangladesh. I've mentioned Egypt, Nigeria, and probably 3 others, which I can't put down immediately. Everyone is trying one way or the other to be part of it, to put some sense of belonging. But for Lagos State, at the local government level, our stakeholders are alive. At the community-based level, we just had an interaction with UNESCO, where we said, for literacy to thrive at the community level, let us make it community-based literacy program. UNESCO came to Lagos, they went to every other part of the country to establish a committee in the name of revitalizing youth and adult literacy. Before then, we had a big ceremony where we had 4 focal local governments. Omieshent was part of the success of that day, a year and a half back. We tried to focus on Epe, Ifakojayi, Apapa, and Surulere local governments respectively. Maybe through those areas, we went further to market literacy, to educate the women. By the time Mama is absolutely an illiterate person, you can imagine the type of children such people are going to produce. And that's why we said ignorance, illiteracy, poverty, ill health, they are family members. So we are now trying to see the possibility of bringing it down to the community level, where you could have centers established everywhere. By the time I'm busy doing washing of clothes, somebody could remind me, your teacher just passed, your instructor, people compete, why will my child be in school? And you call that person teacher, you're not calling me also a pupil. No. For that person, he or she is a learner. And that teacher is also referred to as an instructor. So you have vocabularies to make them stay. And by the time they come, over time, period of 9 months or thereabout, by the time they come and then they listen, they appreciate it that, okay, for a change, at least. We will now use the vocabulary literacies. Computer literacy, even political. Most of the elections that we had, it was not all that were not well done. Many were not well done because of ignorance. People memorized or crammed something to take the and at the end of it all, in between, such papers will be cancelled. And so we are here this morning to look at it, probably within Lagos. I know AHI will move to other states. We are now focusing on our girls, yes, but I still insist, these girls came from somewhere. There is a root. This root too we have to give attention to. And by the time we give attention to this root, maybe the surface where these girls belong could be generated. And so it is your responsibility, it is my responsibility to be there for our various societies in order to make illiteracy a thing of the past. And I said, for the overall development of this nation not to be a mirage, and for the change that we are all clamoring for to be deep-rooted, the only key to unlock the greed of poverty, entrapping millions of Nigerians, including our girls in particular, is functional literacy. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's continually lend a hand. Let us be committed as stakeholders. Partnership is the key. Let's partner with one another to move Lagos State forward, to move the nation forward, and so we shall have a sustainable development. Good morning.
Found in a family of 8 children. Her father is a night watchman in the company in Bagaja, and her mother, a nanny with a family somewhere close by in Onike. Anu was born shortly after her parents moved from Osun State to Lagos. She and her 7 siblings have never been to school. Anu's first sexual encounter was at the age of 12. She was raped by an older neighbor, whom she had always considered a very nice man, because he always helped her at the public water borehole in their neighborhood to fetch her bucket of water in time. But on this ill-fated day, the man asked her to help him take his own bucket of water to his room after he had helped her fill her bucket. Anu didn't dare tell her parents what had happened, because they would say probably she was lying against this respectably married man. A few years before then, Anu Oluwapo's older sister had run away from home, and they'd heard stories that she was living with an older man selling spare parts somewhere in Mushu. So after her elder sister left home, the responsibility of taking care of her younger ones fell on her. By the time she herself was 13, she got a job as a plate washer in a canteen in their area. And her job of caring for her siblings fell onto her immediate younger sister. At this point, in order to get herself protection in the neighborhood when going to work early in the morning and coming back at night, she had to get protection also from an area boy, so that she would not be waylaid either early in the morning or late at night coming home. I met Anu in 2011 when Action Health was reaching out to the communities around Lagos, trying to figure out what the issues girls out of school faced in these communities. At that point, Anu could not read or write. She was 14 years old. She couldn't even spell her own name. When we asked her what her greatest need was, she said if there would just be a way she would get a better job, so she can help her own parents provide one meal a day, one good meal a day for her remaining siblings. Following that study, Anu got a chance to be enrolled with one of the artisans, 18 artisans in Iwayama-Koko that Action Health partners with to provide training opportunities for these girls, hairdressing and tailoring, unfortunately. 2 times a week, girls on this empowerment program get to go for literacy classes through a partnership that we're having with the Agency for Mass Education. Once a week, they get an opportunity to go for sexuality education classes in the evening, so they can learn about their bodies, the changes.
And the issues we are talking about here actually deals on the rights to these young girls, their basic humanity, their dignity as human beings and as persons. And for us in the human rights world, we actually say that the dignity of a human person is what begins the person, is what you qualify the person with. And we believe that the obligation rests maybe 98% on the government. And why we say so, that Nigeria has signed on to various international human rights treaties, and they have a duty to respect, protect, and fulfill these human rights of these young girls. Then we ask ourselves, if government has all these obligations, and these young girls, that a major part that form about 50% of that category of youth, are out of school and are disadvantaged, where are the policies that our government has signed on that will protect these girls and ensure that they live a life of dignity? That means we are failing somewhere. Just like she said, we are ending the MDGs. And I know Nigeria, when we did the last universal peer review on human rights, they asked Nigeria, how have we fared in our MDGs? I don't think there was any of the MDGs, or the 8 of them, that Nigeria met. In the 15 years into this millennium, Nigeria could not beat one of the MDGs. Where are people in government? What are we doing wrong? We have to ask ourselves. It shows that, like, for us in the Human Rights Commission, that protecting the rights to human beings means that government needs to empower these people to live a life of dignity. That means you have to put certain structures in place. Human rights is about how I and you treat ourselves in the communities that we live in. And if for 15 years of the MDGs, Nigeria could not beat one, that means either our policies or our legislators, there's something wrong in things, or with our implementation, there's something faulty, so we have to go and do a think back. At the end of September now, we're going to go into Sustainable Development Goals. If we couldn't meet the millennium wants, how can we sustain what we have not met? Your guess is as good as mine. So now the human rights world, we talk about what we call human rights education. Just like my sister from the mass education said, functional literacy. When we say human rights education, we say this is education about human rights. These are the legal norms and standards that Nigeria as a country has signed onto, that Nigeria needs to respect, protect, and fulfill. They will talk about it through how we learn the education, the environment, how we teach it to the children, the way we speak to them, the way we do everything. It matters, both in the formal and the informal sectors. And unfortunately for these young girls, most of them are in the informal sector. And that's where we say, how do we meet them at the point of their need? Most of them come from communities. Nigeria just went through what we call an election a few months ago. And I did ask one of my people, that for people who are coming out to ask us to vote for them in our various communities, how many of them have been able to identify the needs of those people within those communities, of which I've been privileged to go to Makoko, I think in the last dispensation when the government conducted the demolition exercise. And we had to ask, what was the attitude of the Lagos State government to the citizenry in that community before they went to demolish their property? There's something called planning. They say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we have a Ministry of Urban and Regional Planning. Planning means you need to know what your people need so you can put certain things in place that will ensure that they live a life that is comfortable, acceptable. They have a good standard of living. That's what it means. So if we have a Ministry of Planning, that means you have cited and mapped out these different areas. As you said, 100 slums in Lagos. And Makoko was one of them that was privileged. And the government says that that was in front of the waterways that they have plans to revive it. And that's what if you want to revive it, that means you also owe a duty and obligation to ensure that people who are living there now currently are either taken away and resettled in another place that is more convenient and more affordable for them. But that the government did not provide. And that's one of the issues we have that we need to begin to hold our government accountable to.
Today, where people are running away from, where there are issues, where there is strife, every single one, go and look at the way and manner women and the girl child have been excluded. And you see that there is a direct relationship. So, we are not doing ourselves, we are not doing the girls a favor by prioritizing this particular activity. We are actually securing our own future. Because the moment, the whole idea of the stability of the society is predicated on how well you take care of the weakest and the most vulnerable. And as soon as you refuse to do that, then you leave the rest of society exposed. That's exactly the worst of the indices that we are trying to fight against today. The second thing I would like to say, DFID has done some work in Lagos over the past, we've been partners in Lagos for the past 7, 8, 9 years on education. And we have an education program called ESPE, Education Support Program. This is actually a technical program, but some time back, some 4 or 5 years ago, we decided to actually do some analysis on what kept girls out of school. And we discovered that at the end of the day, it was something as simple as not enough toilets and no water in the schools. Because there are no water in the schools, the women or the girls usually are drawn back home to come and fetch water. That's one. And then secondly, if a guy wants to go to the toilet, it's different from when a lady wants to go to the toilet. And so because of lack of toiletry facilities alone, something as simple as that, and we experimented with certain schools in Mushi. And what we did was to put boreholes in those schools, and we tracked the attendance of women in schools. Those ones shut up. So what I'm saying is that there is a mix of things. Number one, a certain attitude we must adopt to approach this issue. It's with a sense of urgency. We may look comfortable now where we are and everything looks hunky-dory, but by the time we allow the things to slip down, it may be dangerous. And then there are other things we can put in place. Finally, what I want to say, before I pass the mic to somewhere else, is that, yes, the last speaker actually hit the nail on the head in terms of our ability to achieve the MDGs. But I think it's more structural than just saying that these are targets and we want to pursue them. There is a whole framework for implementing development goals. And I would just like to highlight or categorize them into 4. One is the issue of governance. And when I mean governance, I don't mean government alone. I mean issues like ownership. You say that this is a particular goal or a particular development plan. The governance issue there has to do with things like ownership. Who owns that goal and who owns that plan? If people look at a goal and say it is their own goal and not our own goal, like the gender issues or some other issues, and some people say that, well, that's a gender matter, then that is not inclusive ownership. So whatever we do in terms of the governance, we must have what is called inclusive ownership of the issues and accountability. The second issue is the issue of communication. One of the reasons why the MDGs failed in Nigeria, well, I wouldn't say it failed, or one of the reasons why we were not able to meet the targets as we should have, was the fact of communication. A number of people, a number of states did not understand nor know the direction of where the MDGs were going until 2010, 10 years after the MDGs commenced. So the communication issue of the MDGs, and this is why this particular initiative is good. Right from the start, at this particular point in time, we need to start talking about it. And communication, please, is a two-way thing. It's not about government talking to people alone. It's also about the government listening to what the people have to say. The third issue is coordination. There, you see, some of the targets, in fact, virtually every target, it is not a one department or one ministry or one person issue. You cannot deal with education without dealing with health. You cannot deal with health without dealing with budget and planning. You cannot deal with girl child protection without dealing with justice. So there is a necessity that there should be coordination amongst. It is no longer we cannot see this thing as a compartmentalization of things. You see, even the traditional institutions, the traditional rulers should be fully keyed into these issues. The fourth and final thing is monitoring and evaluation. Right? If you are setting up a target, you have to monitor it periodically. You have to identify specific indicators. If we want to say all those baseline statistics we have now that says that this is the level of women attendance or level of girls out of school, as from now on a yearly basis, we must pay more attention to collecting data, collecting information, including disaggregated data. When we count what is applicable to men, let us disaggregate it and see what happens in terms of women. Because they say what cannot be measured cannot be managed. There is no car that does not have speedometer. There is no car that does not have all the meters that you need. It's just to be able to get direction. And on these 4, I think we failed. Governance, coordination, communication, and monitoring and evaluation. If we get this right, and we start early, I think we will surpass where we are. Development, as you know, is essentially, our focus is poverty elimination, but from different dimensions. And we've decided to prioritize the issue of the SDGs. Having said that, the difference between the MDGs and the SDGs is that the MDGs was more of what are the rich countries going to do for the poor countries. The SDG is different. The theme and the lyric is different. It's what can both do together. So basically, DFID is at the point of writing a new operational plan on exactly how to engage on this matter. But we will need partners. There has to be partners. The states. How do we deal with partners if we don't know what is the platform of coordination? If we are not speaking from the same language, if we don't share the same indicators, and all these things. So this is where we're going, and of course we are partnering. We're here in Lagos, and you know, this week, before the end of this month, we're actually having an engagement with the Deputy Governor's Office, working together to do a conference on women in governance and women in government, because we believe that there is a role for women who are in government to be able to drive some of these issues, the health, education, gender issues forward. We have another...
as long as they are aware of those issues.
They have to be aware of the issues. They have to be aware of the issues. And we are also looking at the role of men. The role of men in actually driving these issues.
Okay. All right.
This issue of adolescent girl well-being is an issue. But one thing about slum clearance is that government look at it in form of providing infrastructures to the development, to improvement of all these slums. But most of the time, we rely most on the outsiders dictating the space for this slum development, not relying on internally funding, which has been the major problem of addressing slums issues. Take, for instance, the last one we had is from the World Bank. 45 slums were identified. There are over 100 now. They penciled out 9. That's, we talk of Iwaya, Makoko, Sarigom, all this. All they provided was boreholes there, renovation of schools there, not really taking the people into consideration. Which I said this one is up now, that we are now focusing on the people now,
okay,
not providing the project, the infrastructure per se. We have to first of all take care of the people that will use the facilities, not providing facilities and just there. That's number one. But 2, the elite and the rich in the country are mostly to blame. They stock the billions in the banks. We are expecting outsiders to fund development in our country. So we need to change attitude. There is need for attitudinal change in the terms of the rich and educated. There is nothing stocking millions, billions in the bank uselessly. If little intervention from the rich to this community, we make a lot of change. So I think the most important thing is our rich people to change their attitude.
There's no doubt about it that this is such an important topic that we're treating today. But at the same time, we're not the first group to actually get into this kind of trouble. But when you look at the other parts of the world, safeguarding in schools, they always take it to be a very serious issue. And that's exactly what we're doing now in Lagos State. Because when you look at the needs of those girls, some of them did not have anybody to talk to in their different schools or in their different communities. Now we all need to come together as you're doing today, because I really appreciate this forum.